Hello and welcome back to channel 7th Blue Star. I seem to have made a mistake, or otherwise yesterday's broadcast on the 19th somehow didn't get published, so I'll go over that material again. Don't know why it happened, but we'll pretend today's still the 19th, and I'll see if I can make another post before the day's over later this evening to make up for the loss. So today I'd like to share with you a little bit more about consciousness and the energy that's behind it and the magnitude of that energy. Many of us learned in school the famous equation by Mr. Einstein, E equals mc squared, where the energy equals the mass of an object times the speed of light squared. Speed of light being 186,282 miles per second, plus or minus a couple miles. So you square that number, and I have to read this. It comes out to 37,701,000,000 miles per second. That's a very big number, bigger than national debt, to put it into comparison. So the c squared is a big number, almost 35 trillion. We multiply that by the mass, and that equals the energy of an object. If we put ourselves in as that object, the energy that we may potentially yield equals that very big number times our mass, or our weight, or whatever you want to call it relative to where you are. So, in short, your energy is huge, as is your consciousness, as you begin to delve deeper and deeper into it. So don't forget that part, because I'll refer back to that, I'm sure, at some future point. Pardon the script here, but this was part of my meditation journal yesterday. I'd like to share it with you. What we do and how we yield our personal energy system is a reflection of our individual levels of consciousness and awareness. Similarly, the machine, or a machine, excuse me, not us, but a machine, is only as capable as the operating system driving it. The human species has built some fantastic, incredible, technologically advanced systems in the past 100 years. We just basically learned how to fly a little over 100 years ago. So, thank you, Wright brothers, and everyone else who's worked on that project. Anyway, if we view our personal beings as systems, we will need to increase awareness of them and their adaptive capability if we want to keep up with the pace of technology. Some technologies created by us sometimes seem a little too advanced for the general population's fullest enjoyment. Not everyone can enjoy levels of technology in this modern world for whatever reason. We're working on that. So in the late 1930s and 40s, an example of how technology progressed materialistically past our human capacity to keep up with it could be illustrated by the nuclear age, right? And its misguided operating systems behind those nuclear bombs. That was us. We were the operating systems behind us. That took us to the brink of completely eliminating our entire sentient population. Cold War, nuclear fear, etc. Wisely, we've shifted our conscience enough away from killing everything to something a little better, economic and materialistic goals. A dominant, everyone wanted to be a dominant force in those economic and materialistic focus. Instead of just killing the opposition, we wanted to do better than they did economically. Okay, so once again, a purely economic and materialistic focus has yielded new obstacles to the continuation of our species. Think of what's going on now, Western economies, kind of like an economic humbling lesson, helping us maybe look to want to add something to that economic, materialistic goal that might balance it out. Once again, we must raise our consciousness enough to avoid a similarly devastating outcome in our future. Okay, we're not all going to die, but economic imbalances are creating a lot of suffering. Now's the time to increase our consciousness, folks. This requires us to go deep into our own personal operating systems, or consciousness, and add a few more levels of capacity, or upgrades, if you will, in order to keep up with technology. As consciousness is expanded, humans can be more effective with the technology we enjoy today. It's like going back to school, kind of, but the school is our own consciousness, and it's in here. We don't have to take the bus to it. We don't have to pay a big tuition to enroll. Our consciousness is at our core being, and trying to operate our personal system as best as it can, providing, or in light of the fact that we might need to upgrade that. And if we make that upgrade, perhaps that's what's necessary to continue this point in time and space without causing more suffering. Another economic analogy, if you raise your consciousness, it's kind of much pretty proven to be cost effective. Abundance does prevail when you increase your consciousness. A more fuller abundance, not just purely economic and materialistic. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying that we need to balance that out a little bit, perhaps. Okay, that was that written part that came out of meditation yesterday. When I was growing up in the 60s, almost all of them, minus 25 days, I was fascinated by rockets and the launch system, and I loved the sound of the rocket taking off from our planet. Where it was going, what it was carrying was of less significance, but it fascinated me that we could generate enough power to get something out there further than just the planes were going, into orbit and beyond. To make a correlation with that view, I was fascinated by the term launch button. You know, not so much launching nuclear missiles button, but launching something and getting it out into orbit where it could float freely. And think of a launch button that's inside of you, and when you realize that launch button's there, many people are prompted to push it. Believe me, if you see that launch button, you are fully capable and qualified to push that launch button, because when you push that launch button, your consciousness will start to take off. How fast it takes off depends on the fuel you're putting in it. We'll talk more about the fuel in the future. Just like rockets, we burn a lot of oxygen. That seems to be the fuel that fires our brain, etc. So right now we're approaching 11 minutes. I'll try and keep this short. I think maybe we can be thinking positive thoughts for Egypt and Mubarak and all that. His energy, whether agreed upon or not, is making transition, and I think it behooves us to help guide his energy into better energy when he makes that connection to other energies out there when he does leave his body, if he hasn't already. It could be useful for his being and ours too. So I kind of chuckle when I think of Mubarak. I think of that as some kind of human cow dog hybrid. I mean that in the best of ways, because you got the moo and the bark part. Anyway, let's not bark at what's happened in the past, folks. Let's bark into the future, and I think we'll find a little more contentment doing that. So I guess I'll wrap it up for now. Stay tuned for the next broadcast, next two broadcasts. Today the calendar says it's summer solstice, but I've always gone by the 21st. So I'll bait you here a little bit with what I'm going to tell you next time, and it has to do with how certain individuals have been able to levitate in history, recent history, and distant history. I'm still working on doing it myself in meditation. There is a general lightness that happens when we meditate or reflect deeply, and in those moments it's been revealed to me from somewhere actually how real levitation can be achieved, and not the parlor trick or the illusion, but the real thing, where we learn to overcome gravity to one extent or another. It goes deep, it starts deep, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. So, till tomorrow, peace and namaste, and I hope this one today actually posts. So, adios from Mr. Ed Windhorse. Love you. Peace.